Hello, I am Mindy, a regular 43-year-old mom to 3 children. So regular, I have not even taken the curlers out of my hair yet. I am about to head out to the grocery store to restock our family kitchen for the week. Our refrigerator is looking pretty bare, so I'm gonna need to fill it up to feed these hungry teenagers. And you know, grocery hauls do look a little bit different now that my kids are older. They're 12, 13, and 16. So I thought I would share with you some mindset shifts, some things that I am thinking about differently when it comes to grocery shopping and how I'm stocking my kitchen for this season with teenagers in the home. Still looking a little crazy, but not as crazy as walking around Walmart with rollers in my hair. I actually placed a grocery order for pickup, but I am coming into the store first to pick out my produce plus a few other things. I have been trying to buy fewer snacks lately. My kids are 12, 13, and 16. They're very active. They are beyond the age where a handful of cheese puffs or a few graham crackers are gonna stave off their hunger. So what ends up happening is they eat like a lot of those snacky foods because they aren't very satisfying. I've been trying to think more in terms of like small meals, like little mini meals, making sure that I have things like yogurt and cheese sticks, stuff to make little half sandwiches, peanut butter sandwiches, even a bowl of cereal with milk, especially if we have some of that higher protein milk that is gonna satisfy them a little bit longer than like a package of crackers or chips. I have some pretzels and some graham crackers in my grocery order today, and those will be good options for lunches if they want like a little snacky type thing along with the other things they're packing in their lunch. Plus I'm picking up some applesauce pouches and probably a box or two of like granola bars or cereal bars for activities this week. This week we have a track meet, a baseball game, state testing, AP testing, a band concert. No swim meets, but when we do, I am usually trying to pick up quick snacks because my kids need those quick sugars. But here's what I do to try to make sure that those are getting used for the proper occasion and in the proper way. I have a little space in my laundry room where we store a lot of like the athletic equipment, like their shoes and their uniforms and things like that. And I will put the snacks that are like sports snacks for track meets and swim meets and baseball games into a little tub in that area. So it's not in the pantry, it's in the area where they're, you know, packing up for those sports events and those activities where they might need those snacks. And I feel like that helps us kind of specify the use, what those are supposed to be used for, so that we don't like just gobble them up really quickly when we don't really need them, you know? Okay, I just noticed this and laughed. They have ping pong balls right next to the red Solo cups. If you know, you know.
Mom, please stop. For the sake of your daughter, stop doing that.
I wanted to check out the discount bakery rack and I was so excited to see exactly what I was looking for. Little bread bowls, like the kind that you serve soup in. My oldest daughter has requested broccoli cheddar soup, and even though we're getting into the warmer months, we do have like some cold, chilly, rainy days in the forecast this week. So I'm gonna make broccoli cheddar soup, and they had 3 of those bread bowls that I can use this week. I will just pop those into the freezer when I get home and take them out in a couple days when we're ready to use them. Since they're clearanced out, you know, and they're a little bit past their freshness date, I want to make sure that I preserve them until right before we're ready to use them, but the kids will be excited about that. Do your kids like broccoli cheddar soup? Because mine love it. You would think that wouldn't be a kid favorite, but that's something that they request, and if we ever go to a soup place like a Panera, that is what they want to have, even from the time they were really little, like 5, 6 years old. I am trying these days to have dinner ready early. I used to try to just make sure dinner was ready sometime between 6 and 7 o'clock. My kids are usually arriving home, or we're all convening at home like around the 5 o'clock hour now, and I'm trying to have dinner ready around then if possible because they come home hungry. And that doesn't surprise me at all because sometimes they have just come from running 2.5 miles cumulatively at a track practice, or they've been on the football field carrying a giant bass drum for 2 hours practicing marching formations, or they just finished swimming 2,500, even 3,000 meters in a 2-hour swim practice. They are hungry. And if I don't have dinner ready pretty quickly, they will spoil it. So buying fewer snacks does help a little bit with this because there are less options for them to just stand in the pantry and fill themselves up on when they're starving and ready for something to eat upon arriving home at the end of the day. But also this means that I need to provide something filling and nutritious for them pretty quickly. And that's why I am trying to, on as many nights as possible, have dinner ready closer to like 5, maybe 5:30 at the latest, sometimes as early as 4:30, because then this provides that filling, satisfying meal when they're really, really hungry. This does mean that I have to think ahead and have a plan where dinner is concerned. And it's also when those really fast, easy meals come in handy. Meals that can be prepared with just a handful of ingredients with minimal effort, or that come together in under 30 minutes. Having some quick recipes that I can make very fast and have dinner ready early for my hungry teenagers is key these days. In fact, I have an Every Plate box coming in the middle of the week, and those are the recipes that I look at first when I'm choosing from their menu each week. I'm usually looking for the recipes that are quick and easy, that come together in under 30 minutes, sometimes in as little as 20 minutes. So some of my grocery shopping is actually being done by Every Plate this week, so now is a good time to thank them for sponsoring today's video. Every Plate has served a lot of purposes for me over the years. It's great when I want to get out of a food rut. Maybe I want to try some new recipes or some new flavor profiles. It's also really fantastic as a meal prep. I get everything I need to make a multi-portion meal that I can divide up and store in the refrigerator and then reheat across the week for lunches. I am supposed to be walking out the door in about 20 minutes for a meeting, and I need to whip up something for dinner for the kids. So I am really going to be putting to the test this 15-minute time estimate on this spinach ricotta ravioli and chicken sausage. It's also nice for just removing some of the mental load of meal planning and grocery shopping. They change their menu every week, so there are different options from week to week. I can go in and choose the things that I want, including things that are like smart and fit, so they're lower calorie meals. I can choose things that are quick and easy. I can look at their best sellers, so I know that they're favorites that lots of people have liked. Or if I'm really feeling the mom brain fatigue, I don't have to do that at all. They'll just choose the meals for me and send them right to my door. Okay, dinner is ready, and it is now 5:34. So I'm actually very impressed. It was really 15 minutes for me. When I open up my box, it's got just about everything I need, including some pre-portioned fresh ingredients, plus recipe cards that are super easy to follow. They have pictures even. If you are ready to try Every Plate, they have a fantastic deal for you. When you sign up for Every Plate and you use my code CMindyMom299, it's gonna give you $2.99 per meal on your first box plus 10% off for a month. Again, that's $2.99 per meal on your first box plus 10% off for a month with Every Plate. Just follow the link in the description box below or scan the QR code here and use my code CMindyMom299. And again, thank you to Every Plate for sponsoring today's video. When it comes to our kids and the food in the house, we like to give them options, but with boundaries. I taught my kids to fix their breakfast and pack their lunches from the time they were in like kindergarten. For one thing, if they're fixing the meal, I know it's something they will eat because they picked it out. Of course, we have some stipulations about it. They can't just fill up on graham crackers and strawberries. And I try to organize the fridge and the pantry in such a way that it's easy for them to see the options for packing sandwiches, wraps, or leftovers as mains, and then add things like fruit, cheese, yogurt, and pantry items. So I do a little work up front, organizing things in the pantry, fridge, and freezer, keeping things visible and mostly in the same spot so they know exactly where to find the things that they're looking for to make that yogurt parfait, for instance, that they want for breakfast or as a snack. This was actually one of the higher cost items in my grocery haul today because I was completely out of sugar. A while back, I mentioned that I've been buying a few more name brand products because I had noticed that some of my recipes weren't turning out the same with some of the generic products that I was using. And several of you pointed out with the sugar to make sure that I'm buying pure cane sugar. I had no idea that some sugars can be made from other things like beet sugar, and at least in my experience, it does not perform as well in my recipes, especially when I'm baking. And I don't bake every day, but I'm doing it a little bit more since I'm trying to buy fewer store-bought things and just cook a little more from scratch when I have the time. And when I do bake things, it goes fast. I made a batch of cookies yesterday, and this is what's left. 2 little crumbs. Another thing I think about a lot when making grocery purchases and meal plans for the week is to mind the schedule. I don't always have the same amount of time every day, and I don't always have the same block of time in the day. For instance, today we have a track meet that's after school. We have a track meet in the evening, but right now I'm home and I have some time to do a little prep work. So I've got some bacon that I am cooking up in the oven. I've got time to make a loaf of sandwich bread, which we will need for the week anyway. And later on, I'm gonna make up some club sandwiches because that will be really easy for me to make and pack and take to the track meet for those of us who are gonna be there. And all of the elements of the club sandwich will be here ready for everybody else who's home to make their sandwiches when they want. Tomorrow we're home in the evening, but I'm out of the house most of the day. So before I leave in the morning, I'm gonna get a pork shoulder cooking in the crock pot. You know what goes really well with pulled pork tacos? Rosy applesauce. And this is what it is right here. Applesauce and Jell-O. I'm using the sugar-free strawberry Jell-O. I wish I could say I was savvy enough to just mix it up right in the jar, but I pour this out, mix in the Jell-O, and then pour it back in the jar and store it in the fridge. So when we get home later in the evening, that pork is already cooked up and we can toss it into some tortillas with maybe a bagged salad mix and have some of that rosy applesauce, maybe a few chips, and dinner will be ready. It's a pretty busy week, but we have a fairly light weekend. So if the weather holds, we'll probably grill one night. We've got some chicken and fish in the freezer. And then I usually just kind of scrounge around the kitchen for like any vegetables that we have left that we can saute or roast up, maybe some potatoes we can throw in the oven or some rice we can cook up, just really easy sides, you know. Now normally I plan 5 dinners a week because typically we will eat leftovers, kind of have a fend for yourself night, and or go out to eat or bring takeout home to eat one of those nights. I only have 4 dinners planned so far because I have an every plate box that is coming in the middle of the week, and that is going to be like a nice little midweek restock, and it's also going to give us some options for dinners and meals to finish out our week in lieu of going out. For one thing, restaurant food, takeout food, fast food has just gotten insanely expensive. It doesn't feel as worth the money anymore. But also, we actually have a pretty light schedule this weekend, and we enjoy being at home when we don't have a lot on the agenda. So we're just gonna plan to stay home and finish out the week with those meals that are coming from every plate. Okay, this next one is gonna hurt a little, but I think it is really important to understand and wrap my brain around. I had to adjust my grocery budget. I had to reframe my expectations where that is concerned because my old grocery budget just is not realistic anymore. Inflation is not the only culprit in making our household food purchases rise. My kids eat more, naturally. They're bigger. Gone are the days when I could stretch 3 chicken breasts to feed all 5 of us. 1 pound of ground beef is simply not going to be enough for taco night for the 5 of us anymore. I have to be realistic about the amount of food that I'm going to need to purchase to feed everybody as appetites are growing and getting bigger, and find a way to afford more of the good stuff, the proteins and the fruits and veggies and the good carbohydrates. So this might mean, you know, cutting back on the pre-packaged, pre-portioned little snacky things that usually carry a higher price tag and other non-essentials. It might also mean paying more attention to sales, maybe visiting a few different grocery stores to get the best deals, or simply finding a way to shore up that grocery budget with a little bit more money, probably a combination of all 3 of those tactics. So are there some things in this grocery haul that we can live without? Absolutely. Are there some convenience items that I'm paying more for? Sure. But all together with my Walmart in-store shopping and my pickup order, plus my every plate box, I paid $312.70 this week to stock my kitchen for my family of 5, which includes me and my husband, plus plus our 3 children who are 12, 13, and 16. At first I was a little bit disappointed in my $312 total, but then I remembered that we got an every plate box instead of going out to dinner or getting takeout. And that every plate box provided 3 full family meals for us that were certainly much, much less than it would have cost to get restaurant food. What are you guys spending on groceries? If you have teenagers, do you have any tips or tricks you can share with us for helping to keep the grocery budget under control and still keep your children fed? Let us know. Leave me a comment. And as always, thank you again for watching, and thank you to Every Plate for sponsoring. YouTube thinks you might want to watch one of these videos next.